The living room felt smaller than usual. Maya Torres sat on her own couch, gripping a mug of cold coffee, while 14 pairs of eyes stared at her like she'd committed murder. Her husband Derek's entire family had arrived without warning. His mother Patricia perched across from her with crossed arms. His brother Marcus standing guard by the door, aunts and uncles filling every chair. Even his grandmother settled into the corner like a silent judge. "We're worried about you, honey," Patricia said, her voice sweet as poison. "This inheritance situation has everyone concerned." Maya's jaw tightened. "It's not a situation. My uncle left me his estate. That's between him and me." "But you're married to our Derek," Uncle William interrupted, his bulk dominating the love seat. "What's yours is his. That's marriage." Derek sat beside his mother, and Maya barely recognized the coldness in his eyes. This wasn't the man who'd held her through panic attacks. This wasn't the man she'd supported through 3 failed business ventures. This man looked at her like she was standing between him and something he deserved. "The inheritance is legally designated as my separate property," Maya said carefully. "Uncle Richard made that clear in his will. It's protected. See? This is the problem," Marcus jumped in. "You've already hired lawyers behind Derek's back. That's not how family operates." "Family?" Maya felt something crack inside. "Where was this family when I worked double shifts to keep us afloat? Where were you when I maxed out my credit cards to fund Derek's startup?" "That was different," Patricia said sharply. "That was your duty as his wife. But when my uncle, who actually raised me after my parents died, leaves me money he saved his entire life, suddenly I'm supposed to just hand it over?" "Not hand it over," Derek finally spoke, his tone rehearsed. "Share it. Invest in our future together. I have opportunities that could triple that money, but you're being selfish." Maya stared at her husband of 6 years. 6 years of sacrifice. 6 years of putting his dreams first while hers gathered dust. 6 years she'd believed in partnership. And now they sat here, a coordinated attack, acting like she owed them her uncle's life savings. "I'm not discussing my inheritance with anyone," Maya said firmly. "This conversation is over." The room erupted. Voices overlapped, accusations flew. They called her ungrateful, said she'd changed, insisted she was being manipulated by greedy lawyers. "Enough," Derek's voice cut through the chaos. He stood, towering over Maya. "I've tried to be patient, tried to be understanding, but clearly you're not going to see reason. Reason means agreeing with you. It means recognizing we're a team, that your money affects both of us. But my debt was never your debt, was it?" Maya shot back. "When I had student loans, those were mine. When I had medical bills from that accident, those were mine to handle. But my inheritance is suddenly ours?" "You're being ridiculous," Patricia interjected. "Derek has stood by you. Show some appreciation." "I have shown appreciation every single day for 6 years. But this inheritance isn't about appreciation. It's about my uncle's wishes and my security." "You've already hidden the money," Marcus accused. "Moved it where Derek can't touch it. I've protected what's legally mine. Yes. See?" Derek turned to his family. "I told you, she's already moved against me, treating me like an enemy instead of her husband. Because you're treating my inheritance like a prize you're entitled to." Maya felt tears burning, but refused to let them fall. "If you loved me, you'd be happy for me. You'd respect this." "If you loved him," Patricia said coldly, "you'd want to invest in his future. Your future together. We have a future that doesn't require my inheritance. Derek has a job. I have a job. We were fine before this." "Fine isn't great," Derek said. "Fine isn't the life I want. We could buy a house, start a real business, travel. But you'd rather hoard it." "Don't finish that sentence," Maya warned. The tension was suffocating. Nobody here was on her side. Not one person defended her right to keep what her uncle had meant for her alone. "I think everyone should leave," Maya said quietly. "This is my home, and I'm asking you to leave." "Our home," Derek corrected. "I pay rent too. I pay 70% of everything. I have the statements to prove it. So yes, my home. Leave." Nobody moved. They all looked at Derek, waiting for permission. That gesture told Maya everything. This had been planned, coordinated. They'd come here with a purpose. "Look, Maya." Derek's voice softened, reaching for her hand. She pulled away. "I know my family can be intense. Let's table this for now. Think about what's best for us." "I have thought about it. The answer is no." Derek's jaw clenched. Then Patricia spoke, and everything shattered. "Well, Jennifer agrees with us," she said matter-of-factly. "She thinks Maya's being completely unreasonable." The room went silent. Marcus's eyes went wide. Derek's face drained of color. "Who," Maya said slowly, her heart pounding, "is Jennifer?" Patricia's hand flew to her mouth. She looked at Derek, realizing her mistake too late. The other family members suddenly couldn't meet Maya's eyes. "Who is Jennifer?" Maya asked again, louder. Derek's face had gone from pale to crimson. "Mom, what are you doing?" "I thought she knew," Patricia stammered. "I thought you told her by now." "Told me what?" Maya felt the room spinning. "Derek, who is Jennifer?" The silence stretched. Maya watched her husband struggle to find words, watched his family exchange guilty glances. And she knew. Without him saying anything, she understood. "Get out," Maya said quietly. "All of you. Get out of my house right now." "Maya, let me explain," Derek started. "Get out." Maya's voice cracked like thunder. "Get out before I call the police and have you removed for harassment." They filed out slowly, shamefully. All except Derek, who stood there with an expression that might have been regret or frustration at a ruined plan. "We'll talk about this later," he said. "No," Maya replied. "We won't." "Pack a bag. You have 1 hour, then I'm changing the locks." Derek opened his mouth to argue, thought better of it, and walked to their bedroom without another word. Maya stood alone, shaking. Jennifer, her husband, had another woman in his life. A woman his family knew about. A woman who had opinions about Maya's inheritance. With trembling hands, she pulled out her phone. She had exactly 1 hour to make some calls. 1 hour before Derek came back out. 1 hour to figure out her next move. But one thing was crystal clear. Whatever happened next, she was done being ambushed. Done being manipulated. Done being treated like her own money wasn't hers to control. The inheritance had revealed the truth about her marriage. Now it was time to figure out what to do with that truth. 3 months earlier, Maya had been organizing files when her phone rang with an unknown number. She almost ignored it, but something made her answer. "Is this Maya Torres?" "Yes, this is she." "This is Linda Chun from Riverside Legal Associates. I'm calling about your uncle, Richard Hayes." Maya's heart dropped. "Is he okay?" "I'm very sorry to inform you that Mr. Hayes passed away peacefully 2 nights ago." The room tilted. Uncle Richard, the man who'd taken in a frightened 10-year-old after her parents' death. The man who'd raised her alone, put her through school, taught her to be strong. Gone. "I'm so sorry for your loss," Linda continued. "Mr. Hayes listed you as his sole heir and requested I contact you personally about his estate. The funeral had been small. Uncle Richard had been private, with few close friends remaining." Maya sat in the front row, Derek beside her, as the pastor spoke about a man who dedicated his life to teaching and to raising his niece alone. Derek had been supportive those first days. He'd held her while she cried, helped with arrangements, taken time off work. Maya had felt grateful to have him. Then came the reading of the will. Linda's office was calm and elegant, designed to deliver life-changing news peacefully. Maya sat across from the liar, Derek's hand in hers, as Linda explained Uncle Richard's estate. "Your uncle was extremely careful with money," Linda said, sliding documents forward. "He lived modestly, but invested his teaching salary wisely for over 40 years. The total estate value is approximately $1,800,000. Maya's breath caught. "Nearly $2 million. The entire estate goes to you, Maya. There's a trust structure that protects it as your separate property, not marital property." He was very clear about that. Maya felt Derek's hand tighten on hers. She looked at him and saw something flicker across his face. Surprise? Excitement? She couldn't read it. "He left you a letter," Linda said, handing over a sealed envelope. "He wanted you to read it privately." That night, Maya sat alone in their bedroom and opened Uncle Richard's letter. His neat handwriting filled 2 pages. "My dearest Maya, if you're reading this, I've moved on to whatever comes next. Don't be sad too long, kiddo. I've lived a full life, and my only regret is not being there to see all the amazing things you're going to do. I'm leaving you everything because you are my daughter in every way that matters. Raising you was my greatest privilege. I've set up this money as your separate property because I learned hard lessons in my own marriage. Love is beautiful, but money reveals people's true character. This inheritance is your security, your freedom, your foundation. Never let anyone convince you that you owe them your security. Build the life you want. Go back to school if that's still your dream. Travel, start a business, whatever calls to your heart. But promise me this, Maya, don't let anyone guilt you or pressure you into giving away your foundation. This is yours. You've earned it through every sacrifice you made, every hard day you survived. I love you forever." Uncle Richard. Maya had cried reading it, understanding the weight of his wisdom. Uncle Richard had been married once, briefly in his 30s. He never talked about it except to say he'd learned important lessons about independence. When Maya came out of the bedroom, Derek was waiting with takeout and champagne. "We should celebrate," he said, grinning. "Almost $2 million, Maya. Do you know what we could do with that?" "It's my inheritance," Maya said carefully. "Uncle Richard left it specifically to me." "Right, yeah, of course. But we're married. We'll figure out the best way to use it together, right?" Something in his tone made Maya uneasy, but she pushed the feeling down. "Let's not think about it tonight. I just want to remember Uncle Richard." But Derek couldn't let it go. Over dinner, he talked about investment opportunities his cousin mentioned, about a bigger apartment they could afford, about finally starting the consulting business he'd always dreamed of. "Derek, I need time to process this," Maya finally said. "My uncle just died. I know, baby. I know. I'm just excited for us, that's all." But the conversations didn't stop. The next day, Derek casually mentioned his brother Marcus knew a great financial advisor. The day after, he suggested meeting with a real estate agent. Every conversation somehow circled back to the money. Maya started noticing other changes too. Derek began dressing better, talking about luxury cars he wanted to test drive. He made comments about their apartment being too small, their furniture too cheap. He started looking at her differently, like she was a winning lottery ticket instead of his wife. One evening, 3 weeks after the funeral, Maya came home from her shift at the medical clinic to find Derek on the phone in their bedroom. She heard him say, "Trust me, it's going to work out. Almost $2 million is more than enough for what we need." When he noticed her in the doorway, he quickly said goodbye and hung up. "Who was that?" Maya asked. "Just Marcus. Business stuff. Business stuff involving almost $2 million? Derek laughed, but it sounded forced. "Come on, don't be paranoid. I'm excited about our future." "Is that a crime?" "It's not our money, Derek. It's my inheritance. His smile faded. Are you seriously going to be like that? Be like what? Honest about the legal reality? Married people share everything, Maya. That's how it works. That's not how inheritance works. Uncle Richard set it up specifically as my separate property. Why would he do that? Unless he was trying to cause problems in our marriage. Maya felt anger flash through her. Don't you dare speak badly about him. He was protecting me. Protecting you from what? From your husband? Maybe he knew something I didn't. Derek's face darkened. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. Forget it. I'm tired. But the tension only grew. Derek became distant, moody. He stopped being affectionate. He spent more time on his phone, always angling the screen away from her. When Maya tried to talk about it, he accused her of being suspicious and controlling. This money has changed you, he said one night after another argument. I haven't changed at all. I'm the same person I was before. No, you're not. You're secretive and paranoid. We used to be a team. Now you act like I'm your enemy. I'm not keeping anything from you. I just haven't decided what to do with the inheritance yet. Why is that such a problem? Because you should want to include me in these decisions. We're supposed to be partners. We are partners, but this is my inheritance from my uncle. It doesn't change who we are. It changes everything if you're going to hoard it. The word stung. Maya had never been selfish or materialistic. She'd supported Derek through every failed venture. Worked overtime to cover bills when his business ideas didn't pan out. Given up her own dreams of medical school because they couldn't afford it. And now he was calling her a hoarder because she wanted to think carefully about money her uncle had saved over 40 years of hard work. I need air, she said and walked out. She drove to the park where Uncle Richard used to take her as a child. Sat on the same bench where he told her stories about his students, the lives he'd touched through teaching. Uncle Richard had been so wise, so careful with money, so fiercely independent. Maya pulled out her phone and called Linda, the lawyer. I need your advice, Maya said. How do I protect this inheritance? It's already protected under the trust structure your uncle set up, Linda explained. As long as you keep it in separate accounts under your name only. Never commingle it with marital funds and never add your husband's name to anything. It remains your separate property. What if he pressures me to give him access? Don't. The moment you start using that money for joint purposes or adding his name to accounts, you risk it becoming marital property. Your uncle was very clear in his wishes. If you want to honor them, keep everything separate. That conversation had been 6 weeks ago. Since then, Derek's pressure had only increased. His family started calling, dropping hints about investment opportunities. His mother suggested family dinners were conversation. Always turned to the inheritance. Derek had even brought home papers from a financial advisor his cousin knew, papers that would have required Maya's signature to set up joint investment accounts. She'd refused to sign anything. And that refusal led to more arguments, more coldness, more distance. Now, standing in her living room with the name Jennifer ringing in her ears, Maya finally understood Uncle Richard's warning. Money had revealed Derek's true character. And the truth was devastating. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You should give him what he wants. It's only going to get worse. Maya's hand shook. Who was this? Another family member? Or was it Jennifer? She blocked the number and sat down on her couch, Uncle Richard's letter still in her purse. She pulled it out and read it again, especially the last part. Don't let anyone guilt you or pressure you into giving away your foundation. I won't, Uncle Richard, Maya whispered. I promise. She opened her laptop and began searching for the best divorce lawyers in the city. If Derek wanted a war over her inheritance, He was going to find out that Maya Torres was her uncle's niece through and through. And Richard Hayes had been one tough man. Maya sat in a coffee shop 4 blocks from her apartment. Laptop open, hands trembling as she waited. She'd called a private investigator that morning, someone Linda, the lawyer, had recommended. A woman named Ruth Williams, who'd been doing this work for 18 years. Ruth arrived exactly on time. A compact woman in her 50s, with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. She slid into the booth across from Maya and got straight to business. "Tell me what you need." Maya explained everything. The family meeting, the pressure about the inheritance, and the name that had slipped from her mother-in-law's mouth. Jennifer. "I need to know who she is," Maya said. "And I need to know what my husband has been doing behind my back." Ruth pulled out a tablet and took notes. "How long have you suspected something?" "I didn't suspect anything until 2 days ago. I thought the problems in our marriage were about money. Now I think the money was just an excuse." "It usually is," Ruth said. "Give me his full name, workplace, phone number, if you have access, email addresses, social media accounts." Maya provided everything. Ruth promised preliminary information within 48 hours and full results within a week. "This won't be cheap," Ruth warned. "But if he's hiding something, I'll find it. Cost doesn't matter. I need the truth." The next 48 hours were the longest of Maya's life. Derek had taken her ultimatum seriously and moved out. He'd packed 3 suitcases and left without much argument, which itself felt suspicious. She'd expected him to fight harder, to demand his rights as her husband. Instead, he'd gone quietly, which meant he was planning something. She changed the locks anyway. Changed all her passwords. Checked her credit report and found 3 credit cards she hadn't opened. Derek had been using her social security number to open accounts in her name. The balances totaled $42,000. Maya called Linda immediately. "That's identity theft and fraud," Linda said. "You need to report this to the police and credit bureaus right away." "But he's my husband." "That doesn't give him the right to steal your identity." "File a police report, Maya. Document everything." Maya spent that afternoon at the police station, feeling like her entire world was crumbling. The officer taking her statement was sympathetic but matter-of-fact. "This happens more than you'd think," he said. "Spouses assume they can use each other's information freely. But this is serious fraud." When Ruth called 2 days later, Maya was almost afraid to answer. "I found your Jennifer," Ruth said without preamble. Jennifer Martinez, age 29. Works as a receptionist at a dental office in Westbrook. She's been seeing your husband for approximately 7 months. 7 months. While Maya had been mourning her uncle, planning the funeral, dealing with the inheritance, Derek had been building a whole separate life. How did they meet? Social media. They connected on a dating app. Actually, Derek's profile says he's separated. "You told her we were separated 7 months ago?" "According to the messages I found, yes." He's been telling her the marriage has been over for a year, that you're controlling and difficult, that you're keeping him trapped financially. Maya felt sick. "What else? You want the full details?" "Everything." Ruth's voice was gentle but direct. They've been meeting 2 or 3 times a week at her apartment. He's told her about the inheritance. Actually, from the messages, it looks like he told her about it before you even received it. He knew it was coming. That felt like a punch to the gut. How could he have known? Did your uncle ever mention his will to him? Maya thought back. Had Uncle Richard ever said anything in front of Derek? He'd visited them occasionally for dinner. Had something been mentioned? Then she remembered. 7 months ago, Uncle Richard had been at their apartment for Sunday dinner. He'd looked tired, frailer than usual. He'd pulled Maya aside and said quietly, "I've updated my will, kiddo. Everything's taken care of." You'll be secure when I'm gone. Derek had been in the kitchen, supposedly out of earshot. But their apartment was small. He could have heard. He knew, Maya said quietly. He heard my uncle mention updating his will. He knew 7 months ago. That explains the timeline, Ruth said. The affair started shortly after that. And Maya, there's more. The messages between him and Jennifer, they're not just romantic. They're strategic. They've been planning. Planning what? How to get the inheritance. There are messages where they discuss divorce settlement amounts, legal strategies, ways to prove the money should be considered marital property. Jennifer apparently has a friend who's a paralegal. They've been getting advice. Maya's vision blurred with tears. So this was all a plan. The affair, the pressure about the money, all of it. It appears so. And Maya, your mother-in-law, is in on it. There are messages between Derek and his mother discussing the best way to pressure you. They planned that family meeting. It was supposed to intimidate you into giving up the money. What? Why would his mother help him do this to me? From what I can see in the messages, she's been promised a portion of the money. Derek told her he'd give her $150,000 once he got access to the inheritance. He's made similar promises to his brother. Maya felt like she couldn't breathe. The betrayal wasn't just Derek, it was his entire family. They'd sat in her living room, looked her in the eye, and lied while planning to steal from her. What about Jennifer? Maya asked. What does she get out of this? Derek's promised to marry her once the divorce is final. He's told her they'll split the inheritance and start a business together. Some kind of consulting firm. Apparently, that's been his dream, and he sees your inheritance as startup capital. My inheritance from my uncle. The man who raised me. Maya was crying now, angry tears running down her face. He was going to take the money my uncle saved for 40 years and use it to start a business with his girlfriend. Yes, I'm sorry, Maya. I know this is painful. What else? Is there anything else I need to know? Ruth hesitated. There's one more thing. Jennifer isn't his first affair. I found evidence of at least one other woman over the course of your marriage. Neither relationship lasted more than a few months. This thing with Jennifer is different. This is calculated. Maya ended the call and sat in her apartment in complete silence. 6 years of marriage. 6 years of believing she knew this man. 6 years of supporting his dreams, covering his failures, being his partner. And all of it had been a lie. Her phone buzzed. A text from Derek. We need to talk. I think we both said things we regret. Can we meet? Maya stared at the message. She thought about what Ruth had told her, the planning, the scheming, the cold calculation behind every word of concern. He wanted to meet so he could try another angle, another manipulation. She typed back, no. Then she called Ruth. I need copies of everything you found. Every message, every piece of evidence. I want documentation of all of it. Already putting together a file for you. I'll email it within the hour. Thank you. And Ruth, I'm going to need you to testify. I'm not just getting a divorce. I'm pressing charges for fraud. When Ruth's email arrived, Maya spent 4 hours reading through everything. The messages between Derek and Jennifer were sickening. He called Maya controlling, bitter, difficult. He said she'd changed since her uncle died, become obsessed with money. He painted himself as a victim stuck in a loveless marriage. The messages with his mother were worse. Patricia had suggested specific pressure tactics. She'd recommended bringing the whole family to show Maya how serious we are. She'd even suggested Derek threaten divorce as a negotiation tactic, assuming Maya would cave rather than end the marriage. But the worst messages were the ones where Derek and Jennifer celebrated their brilliant plan, where they talked about the life they build with Maya's money, where they laughed about how naive she was. One message from Derek to Jennifer. Sent just 2 days after Uncle Richard's funeral. Read. She's devastated right now. Perfect time to start pushing for joint accounts. She want to feel like we're a team. Strike while she's vulnerable. Maya read that message 5 times, each time feeling more fury build in her chest. He'd used her grief as a weapon. He'd seen her pain as an opportunity. She opened a new document and started organizing everything Ruth had sent. Everything she'd discovered, every piece of documentation she had. Derek wanted her inheritance. He was going to get a court case. Instead, her phone rang. Linda, the lawyer. I heard from the police, Linda said. They're taking the identity theft seriously. But Maya, you need to hire a criminal attorney to help navigate this. What Derek did is serious. I know. And I have evidence of more than just the credit cards. Can you recommend someone who handles complex fraud cases? I can. But Simone, are you sure you want to go this route? Prosecuting your husband will be difficult emotionally. Maya looked at the messages on her screen. At the plans to steal from her, at the affair, at the cold manipulation of her grief. I've never been more sure of anything in my life, she said. Then let's fight. Linda replied. Maya met with Linda and a criminal attorney named James Rodriguez in Linda's office 2 days later. She brought her laptop, flash drives with copied evidence, and a binder containing printed versions of everything Ruth had found. James was in his mid-40s with gray at his temples and an intense focus that made Maya feel heard. He spent an hour reviewing the evidence without saying a word, occasionally making notes. Finally, he looked up. This is substantial. You have evidence of identity theft with the credit cards, but these messages show premeditation and conspiracy. That's serious criminal exposure for your husband. What kind of charges are we talking about? Identity theft, credit card fraud, conspiracy to commit fraud, possibly wire fraud if he used electronic means to access your accounts. Each carries significant penalties. Will it stick? He's going to say he had permission because we're married. The credit cards won't fly with that defense. You reported them. You have no history of using them. They were opened without your knowledge. The conspiracy aspect is trickier, but these messages are damning. Linda leaned forward. What about the civil side? The divorce? With this evidence, the divorce is straightforward. No judge will award him any portion of the inheritance given the circumstances. I don't want his money, Maya said. I just want him away from mine. James smiled slightly. That's refreshing. Over the next week, James and Linda worked together to build a comprehensive legal strategy. First, they filed for a restraining order to prevent Derek from contacting Maya or attempting to access accounts in her name. The judge granted it immediately based on the identity theft evidence. Then they filed formal criminal complaints with the police, providing all the evidence Ruth had gathered. The detective assigned to the case, a woman named Sandra Lopez, called Maya in for an interview. I've seen a lot of financial fraud cases, Detective Lopez said, but the level of planning here is unusual. Your husband and this woman put real thought into this. What happens next? We investigate, interview witnesses, subpoena records, build a case. It'll take time, but with the evidence you've provided, we have a solid foundation. What about his family? His mother and brother were involved in the planning. If we can prove they were active participants in the conspiracy, they could face charges too. The messages between your husband and his mother are certainly suggestive. That gave Maya an idea. She called Ruth again. I need you to find out everything you can about Derek's family. Financial records, criminal history, anything that might show a pattern of this behavior. Ruth called back 3 days later with information that made Maya's blood run cold. Patricia, your mother-in-law, she's been sued twice for financial exploitation. Once by an elderly woman she worked for as a caregiver, once by her own sister. Both cases settled out of court, but the allegations were similar. She manipulated vulnerable people out of money. So this is what she does. It appears to be a pattern. And Marcus, your husband's brother, was charged with fraud 4 years ago for a fake investment scheme. He pleaded down to a misdemeanor, but the charges were serious. They're a family of con artists. That's not legally provable, but there's certainly a pattern. Armed with this information, Maya met with Detective Lopez again. The detective's eyes widened as she reviewed the additional evidence. This changes things. If the family has a history of this behavior, it strengthens the conspiracy case significantly. While the criminal investigation progressed, Linda filed the divorce petition. Derek's response came within a week. He claimed the marriage was broken, that Maya had become mentally unstable after her uncle's death, and that he was entitled to half the inheritance as marital property. He also filed for temporary spousal support, claiming he couldn't afford living expenses without access to Maya's income. He's got some nerve, Linda said when she saw the filings. What do? We respond with everything we have. And Maya, I think it's time we depose Derek and Jennifer. Let's put them under oath and see how their story holds up. The deposition was scheduled for 2 weeks later. In the meantime, Maya went back to work at the clinic, trying to maintain some normalcy. But word had gotten around, and her coworkers were supportive. Several shared their own stories of financial betrayal and bad divorces. "You're doing the right thing," her supervisor told her. "Don't let anyone make you feel guilty for protecting yourself." The night before Derek's deposition, Maya couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about seeing him again, about hearing him lie under oath. Her phone buzzed at 2 in the morning. A text from an unknown number. "Drop the charges. You're making a mistake." Then another. "We can work this out. Don't destroy Derek's life over money." Then a third. "You'll regret this." Maya screenshot each message and sent them to Detective Lopez. The response came quickly. "Those messages might constitute witness intimidation. Keep sending them to me. Don't respond." The deposition took place in James Rodriguez's office. Derek arrived with his lawyer, a man named Robert Kim, who looked uncomfortable with his client. Jennifer arrived separately with her own representation, a young woman who seemed overwhelmed. Maya sat in the corner with Linda and James, watching as Derek was sworn in. He looked different, thinner, haggard. His confidence seemed forced. James started with simple questions. How long had Derek been married to Maya? When did he first learn about the inheritance? When had his relationship with Jennifer begun? Derek lied about almost everything. He said the affair started after Maya became obsessed with money. He claimed he didn't know about the inheritance until after Uncle Richard died. He insisted the credit cards were a misunderstanding. James smiled slightly and pulled out a binder. "Mr. Torres, I'm now showing you text messages between you and Miss Martinez, dated 7 months ago. In these messages, you discuss your wife's inheritance. How could you discuss something you claim you didn't know about?" Derek's face went pale. His lawyer whispered something to him. "I want to confer with my counsel." "That's your right. But Mr. Torres, perjury is a serious offense. You're under oath." They took a break. Maya watched Derek and his lawyer argue in hushed tones in the hallway. When they came back, Derek's entire demeanor had changed. "I may have been mistaken about some of the timeline," he said carefully. "Mistaken or lying?" "Objection," Robert Kim said. Argumentative. But the damage was done. James continued questioning, pulling out message after message, piece of evidence after piece of evidence. By the end of 2 hours, Derek had contradicted himself at least a dozen times. Jennifer's deposition was even more damaging. She cracked under questioning within 30 minutes, admitting that Derek had told her about the inheritance early in their relationship. that they'd discussed ways to get the money, that his mother had been involved in planning. Did you know Derek was still married when you began your relationship with him? James asked. He said they were separated, Jennifer said, tears streaming. He said the marriage was over and everything but paperwork, but they were still living together. He said it was temporary, that she wouldn't let him leave until money stuff was settled. So he lied to you too. Jennifer looked at Derek, who was watching from across the room. I guess he did. After the depositions, James pulled Maya aside. We've got him. Between the text messages, the credit card fraud, and his perjury today, the criminal case is solid. The divorce case is even stronger. What happens now? Now we wait for the prosecutor to decide on charges. But Maya, I'd be surprised if Derek doesn't face serious criminal penalties. Maya should have felt victorious. Instead, she just felt tired. 6 years of her life had been built on lies. The man she trusted had betrayed her in the worst possible way. But she also felt something else relief, because she was free. The truth was out, documented, undeniable. Whatever happened next, she knew she'd never have to question herself again. She'd done the right thing by protecting her inheritance, by trusting her instincts, by refusing to be manipulated. As she left the office building, her phone rang. Detective Lopez. Maya, we've made an arrest. Derek Torres is being charged with identity theft, fraud, and conspiracy. The prosecutor is also looking at charges against Patricia Torres and Marcus Torres. They'll be arraigned tomorrow. That fast? With the evidence you provided and their own testimony, we had more than enough. I wanted you to hear it from me first. Maya stood on the sidewalk, people rushing past on their way to wherever they were going, and let herself feel it all, the pain of betrayal, the anger at being used, the satisfaction of justice being served, and underneath it all, the beginning of something new, freedom. Thank you, she told Detective Lopez, for taking this seriously. Thank you for having the courage to come forward. A lot of people don't. As Maya walked to her car, she thought about Uncle Richard, about the letter warning her that money reveals people's true character, about the inheritance that had seemed like a blessing but had actually been a test she'd passed, and a gift that had revealed the truth just in time to save her from wasting more years on a man who'd never truly loved her. She pulled out her phone and opened a new note. At the top, she wrote, "New beginning." Then she began listing everything she'd do next: finish her medical degree, travel to places she'd always dreamed of visiting, maybe start a foundation to help other women facing financial abuse. Uncle Richard's money would give her security. But more than that, it would give her the freedom to become who she was always meant to be. And that was the greatest inheritance of all. 6 months later, Maya stood in a community center conference room, looking out at 40 women who'd gathered for the first meeting of the Richard Hayes Foundation, the organization she'd created to help women facing financial abuse and manipulation. My uncle taught me that money reveals character, Maya began. When I inherited his estate, I learned that lesson the hard way. But I also learned something else, that we have a choice in how we respond to betrayal. We can let it destroy us, or we can use it to help others. The women in the room nodded. Some were currently fighting their own battles with manipulative partners. Others had survived and come to share their stories. One woman raised her hand. How did you find the courage to press charges? I'm terrified of what my husband will do if I report him. Maya thought about that terrifying first step. Walking into the police station, admitting what had happened. The courage came from realizing that protecting myself wasn't selfish. It was necessary. And that every time we stay silent, we make it easier for these people to hurt someone else. After the meeting, a young woman approached Maya hesitantly. My name is Rachel, she said. My boyfriend has been pressuring me to give him access to my savings account. After hearing your story, I realize he's showing the same warning signs. I don't know what to do. Maya sat down with Rachel and spent an hour walking her through options, how to protect her accounts, where to find legal advice, how to document everything. You're not alone, Maya assured her. And what you're feeling, the guilt, the doubt, the fear that you're overreacting, all of that is normal. But trust your instincts. They're trying to protect you. As Rachel left with a folder full of resources and Maya's direct contact information, Maya felt a sense of purpose that had been missing for so long. This was what Uncle Richard's money was meant for. Not to make her comfortable, but to make a difference. Derek's trial had taken place 4 months earlier. The evidence was overwhelming. The jury deliberated for less than 3 hours before finding him guilty on all counts. At sentencing, Maya had given a victim impact statement. Derek Torres didn't just steal my money, she told the court. He stole 6 years of my life. He stole my trust in people. He used the death of my uncle, the man who raised me, as an opportunity to manipulate me. But here's what he didn't steal: my strength, my dignity, my ability to fight back. The judge had sentenced Derek to 6 years in federal prison. Patricia received 3 years for her role in the conspiracy. Marcus got probation and community service. Jennifer had received a lighter sentence, 2 years in exchange for her testimony. She'd written Maya a letter from prison, apologizing for her part in everything. Maya had read the letter once and then filed it away. She didn't hate Jennifer, but forgiveness felt premature. Maybe someday, but not yet. What Maya had found, though, was something more valuable than revenge or even justice. She'd found purpose. The foundation was growing. They'd helped 30 women in 6 months, connecting them with legal resources, financial advisors, therapists. They'd partnered with domestic violence organizations and women's shelters. And Maya had gone back to school. She was studying to become a financial counselor, wanting to help women understand money management and protection. One evening, she received an email from someone unexpected: Lauren, Marcus's ex-wife, who testified against the family. Maya, I wanted to thank you. Watching you stand up to them gave me the courage to leave Marcus. I'm rebuilding my life now, and I'm finally free. You saved more than just yourself. Maya read the email 3 times, tears streaming down her face. This was redemption. Not forgiving Derek, he didn't deserve forgiveness, but transforming her pain into something that could help others. Turning betrayal into purpose. She thought about the woman she'd been 6 years ago, young, naive, willing to sacrifice everything for someone who didn't deserve it. As she thought about the woman she was now, strong, clear-eyed, refusing to settle for anything less than genuine respect and honesty. Uncle Richard had given her more than money. He'd given her a foundation to stand on, and she was using it to help other women build their own foundations. That night, Maya went to Uncle Richard's grave. It had become a habit, visiting him whenever something significant happened. We've helped 30 women, she told the headstone. 30 women who might have stayed trapped, who might have lost everything. Your money is changing lives, Uncle Richard. Just like you changed mine. A breeze rustled the trees around the cemetery, and Maya chose to believe it was his way of saying he approved. She didn't need Derek's forgiveness, and she didn't need to forgive him. What she needed was to keep moving forward, to keep helping others, to keep building the life Uncle Richard had wanted for her. And that's exactly what she was going to do. 2 years after that devastating family meeting, Maya stood in front of a crowded auditorium at the State University, preparing to give a talk on financial abuse and empowerment. In the front row sat Rachel, the young woman from that first foundation meeting. She'd left her manipulative boyfriend, finished her degree, and now volunteered at the foundation, helping other women find their strength. Next to Rachel sat 3 other women. Maya had helped survivors who'd become advocates. And in the back row, Taking notes was a journalist writing a feature story on the foundation's work. When my uncle left me his inheritance, Maya began, I thought it was a gift of money. I didn't realize it was actually a gift of truth. That money revealed who truly loved me and who only loved what I had. She paused, looking out at the audience. The hardest lesson I've learned is that sometimes the people who should protect us are the ones we need protection from. But the most important lesson is that we have more strength than we realize. We just need to trust ourselves enough to use it. After the talk, dozens of people approached with questions, stories, thanks. Maya spent 2 hours listening, advising, connecting people with resources. As the auditorium finally emptied, she checked her phone and found a message from Linda, her lawyer. The final paperwork came through. Derek's appeal was denied. It's officially over. Maya felt a weight lift from her shoulders. It was truly finished. She drove home to the apartment she'd bought with part of Uncle Richard's inheritance, a beautiful space filled with light, decorated exactly how she wanted, completely and wholly hers. On her desk sat a framed copy of Uncle Richard's letter. She read it often, especially the part about money revealing character. He'd been right. The inheritance had revealed everything. Derek's greed, Patricia's cruelty, Jennifer's willingness to help steal from a grieving widow. But it had also revealed Maya's own strength, her resilience, her capacity to turn pain into purpose. The Richard Hayes Foundation now operated in 3 cities, helping over 200 women per year. They provided legal support, financial education, counseling, and emergency assistance. And every woman they helped was a testament to Uncle Richard's wisdom that security isn't just about having money. It's about having the strength to protect what's yours and the courage to help others do the same. Maya's phone rang. Rachel. Maya? We just got a call from a woman in a situation almost identical to yours. Her family is pressuring her about an inheritance. Can you talk to her? Of course. Send me her information. This was her life now. Not defined by betrayal, but by purpose. Not limited by fear, but expanded by courage. Uncle Richard had saved her twice, once when he took her in as a frightened child, and again when he protected her inheritance from those who would steal it. Now Maya was paying that gift forward, helping other women understand that they didn't have to give away their security to prove their love, that protecting themselves wasn't selfish, that standing up to manipulation was an act of courage, not cruelty. As she settled into her chair to call the woman who needed help, Maya looked at Uncle Richard's photo on her desk. Thank you, she whispered, for everything you taught me, for the foundation you gave me to stand on, for loving me enough to protect me even after you were gone. The lesson was clear, and Maya would spend the rest of her life teaching it. Real love doesn't demand everything you have. Real love celebrates your security and wants you to thrive. Everything else is just manipulation wearing love's mask. And the greatest inheritance isn't money, it's the wisdom to know the difference. The E&D. Moral. True love never demands that you sacrifice your security or foundation. Money doesn't change people, it reveals who they've always been. Protecting yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary. And sometimes the greatest gift we can give others is the courage to stand up for themselves, knowing they're not alone in the fight.